Well, John Fox is a China analyst with the European Council on Foreign Affairs. He's also a former British diplomat based here in Beijing. Thanks very much for talking to us. Obviously, some very significant things to come out of this particular disaster, but is one of the significant things here that we're actually seeing what is going on, that the authorities seem to be fairly open about what's happening?
I think that's right. I mean, I think we're seeing a very different type of response, certainly to the major earthquake of 30 years ago, which was effectively completely out of the domestic media, but even to the ice storms of the Chinese New Year time, and to previous floods, landslides, that sort of natural disaster. And what we're seeing here is a very open response. We're seeing a very direct management style by Wen Jiabao, who's flown to the site, and is frankly appearing more like the sorts of leaders that we're used to seeing in Europe, in the US, in taking control of this, and in really sort of being seen to lead from the front. I think also the media have played a key role in actually being able to report and give that sense of transparency about what's going on locally.
But just how transparent are the Chinese authorities being? I mean, they're certainly not making it easy for journalists to get into that region. Indeed, watching even the foreign language press conference on local television this afternoon, as soon as there was a critical question, it was cut off.
Right. I mean, I think that's the issue, and I think there's two issues here. One is the access of foreign aid workers, and one is the access of journalists. I think on the foreign aid workers front, I mean, I'm almost inclined to give the Chinese government the benefit of the doubt here. I mean, one of your earlier guests was talking about the fact that foreign aid workers were not being allowed into the region, and I like to think that really it's because the Chinese government have already got 100,000 soldiers on the ground there. They want to run this operation as quickly as possible. What they don't really want is a series of international organisations running around doing their own thing that they're not really in control of. I mean, in any given day, the Chinese like to be able to maintain control of what's going on, and so in a situation like this, they really are going to be very tight. In terms of the media access, I think that's a slightly different story. I think there we do have to have a slightly more critical eye. The local media has been very good at reporting sort of the human tragedy side. It's shown a sort of sense of new openness and a new speed of which they're able to get news out. But what we're not, of course, seeing is any criticism in the Chinese domestic media of the building standards, the speed of the response. What I've seen a little bit of is international media where they've been able to get access, picking up comments from the mothers and fathers of people that have died and other relatives saying, you know, this is the fault of local leaders who have bypassed building standards, who have not implemented any of the requirements on either earthquake proofing or have not been ready with emergency plans. They've not got people there as quick enough. And of course some of that is going to be people looking for someone to blame. But there is definitely, I mean, there is a well-known a bad implementation of building standards across China for energy efficiency, for quality of materials and so on. And I think we would have to look very closely at the level of investigations that will be going on after this quake to see what could have been prevented, what do they need to do next time, and how do they need to improve the implementation of these sorts of rules and guidelines.
All right, John Fox live in our London studios. Thank you very much for talking to us.